I got started writing right after I came back from Korea after the war. I went to New York and was writing special material for some stand-up comics in the nightclubs. And after I ruined several careers there and found out they weren't paying me anything anyway, I became a technical writer. And I wrote technical material for several years, and then I finally came out here and got into industrial film writing. And I did that for about 10 years. I've been writing industrial films for various big corporations out here. And then just somebody said, hey, why don't you write a TV show? And I wrote a speculative script, and next thing I knew, I was writing sitcoms. I got the job by a friend of mine, who was a friend of Rafelson, set up an appointment for me. And I went to talk to Bob, and I guess he liked what I said or anything. In my first meeting, he gave me the rewrite assignment. I finished the rewrite assignment, and he said, you got any other ideas? And I threw several at him, and he said, go ahead and do them. And that was it. Writing one of the shows was very unique because you had several parameters. First of all, you didn't want to have any scene. They didn't want to have any scene longer than a page at the most, hopefully 3/4 of a page. Secondly, you had to service 4 guys, and you tried to service them equally. And the third thing is you had to have a storyline with a beginning, middle, and end, plus you had to leave the story open for music. So you had to do a full story in maybe 22 minutes, whereas without music it would be 25 or 26, depending, so you had these parameters to fill in. So sometimes it got a little hairy trying to get everything in like that. And so it was much different than writing a regular sitcom. When I wrote it, actually, the characters were so defined that there wasn't a problem writing for them because their characters were out there. And so if you grab in your head what that character would say, you could write for him. And a lot of changes, et cetera, were probably done on stage and in the final editing kind of thing. They were all strong personalities. And for me, they were easy to write for because they were strong. You didn't have, sure, some scenes you could interchange lines, but also when it got on the set, these guys were bright enough to change a nothing line to their personality. They did a lot of that on the set. As far as the Monkees being any similarity with the Beatles, to me was way off, because I came in the second season, and by then the guys were established characters, had nothing, there was no similarity between them and the Beatles. They were their own thing, and they were just these 4 guys who wanted to be in a music group who lived together, who lived in this non-reality world, which was marvelous and funny and good, and it was just straight entertainment. The little work I did on the romps, what you would do is in the script, you would write a list of hopefully visuals that they could shoot that would fit into a romp. We didn't really know what music they were going to be using, because I guess that was later on when they just shoved in the music into the scripts. But so we gave kind of indications of this would be funny if we did this thing in the romp, and that's it. When you work in television, and you do other shows, they're all based on each other. I mean, there isn't that much different. You can look at sitcoms today and say 20 years ago, oh, that was I Dream of Jeannie, or you don't say this was because of what happened before. It doesn't work that way. I had no favorites in the thing, I wrote them, and I liked what I've did, and I liked what they did with them, and that was it. I mean, there was no preference at all. I think it had some influence on MTV because it showed that you could do that. You could do music and show visual at the same time while the music was going on, and keep interest and keep people looking at the screen. And they were the first ones to do it. After the Monkees, I went to Laugh-In, worked on Laugh-In for several years, and then I went to Glenn Campbell's show for a couple years, and then I wrote for Sonny and Cher for about 6 years. For them, and meantime did about 100 different sitcoms and a couple screenplays and a couple kids' books and anything for money. That was my career.